Looking good, Pablo.
I wish I could see you and say the same. All right.
Oh,
look at that. There we go.
I'm trying to get you in. Oh, there.
Perfect.
Nice.
Perfect. We got it all dialed in, and you are looking damn good.
Damn, look, you know what? Quarantine time. Get me a little bit of a quarantine belly, you know what I mean? My quarantine.
Dude, look at that
fat.
plaque behind you, brother. Holy shit. That thing is amazing.
I put it there so because I knew you're going to say, motherfucker, I want. Oh, shit. Can I curse?
Yeah, you can curse. This is the internet.
Because I know that's what you would say. I can't paraphrase it. You would have said, motherfucker, I want that plaque.
So,
say it.
Motherfucker, I want that plaque.
See, I knew that's going to happen. You're getting one.
Am I really?
Yeah.
You liar. I am not.
I'm a liar.
Yeah, you said, I remember you telling me years ago that was the dream right there. I mean, I'm just looking at it behind you, that the idea that, you know, you'd have gold and you'd have the platinum albums, you'd have them all displayed. And
the bling. Right.
So did everyone in the band get one of those? Is that just you and Ivan?
This is just a side effect, though. You know what I mean? This is just a side effect. This actually the goal was, I mean, just think about it. Little kid from Hungary, man. Yeah. You know? With a big dream, America. I'm going to take my guitar, bro. I'm going to America. And everybody's like, yeah, right.
I know. And then here we are now. You know? That's pretty rad. So we are doing a feature on the radio station. It's the 40 albums that made 93X. And obviously, you guys are part of the DNA now, man. Part of the backbone that is this radio station. So we chose War is the Answer. You know, I don't know why. I had talked to my boss. I'm like, hey, why aren't we doing the first album? You know what I mean? Let's go all the way back and start with The Way of the Fist. And
right.
I think
he had a point. He had a point. You know what? He had a point because I feel like, you know, the first album was kind of like, you know, The Way of the Fist, kicking in the door. That was sort of like, let us in. Once we are in, you know, once one foot is through the door, we'll burn down the house, man. That was the plan. I feel like, you know, War is the Answer was the record that sort of solidified us, you know? So it wasn't like, you know, the first record can be always an accident. You know, there are so many bands that come out, you know, they have their first, you know, song that goes somewhere and then, boop, they disappear.
Sure.
So your second record is always like, okay, that wasn't an accident, man. You know what I mean? Here we go. Here's the next one. So I think, you know, by picking this record, this was really the one that cemented the band into the, you know, into existence. Like, okay, this is for real.
Absolutely. I mean, War is the Answer. That's the title. But it obviously, there's a deeper meaning about fighting your way through life. Can you tell me about that? I mean, where that title?
Right. I see. Oh, here it is.
Look at that, man. You came with props. I like this.
You know, I mean, like, look, when I like to push buttons anyway, and I always felt like an artist. I can't tell you what to think, right? It's not my job to get on, you know, or Ivan's job to get on stage and preach. You know, we always say this also on shows that there is no red, there is no blue here. This is a family. We are just bad company. You know, that's what Ivan usually says. But, you know, so it's not my job to preach and tell you what to think, but I like to poke, you know, some, you know, some buttons, right? And you know, and that was a time where I could see, you know, all these signs on the street, war is not the answer. I'm like, you know what, sometimes it is just, you know what I mean?
I love these
problems. Sometimes it is, right? I mean, like, look, I'm a lifelong martial artist. Yeah. I know. I'm a lifelong martial artist. And I always thought, like, look, you have to make a distinction between people who are harmless or peaceful. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Only a violent person, only a bad motherfucker can be peaceful. Sure. Right? A harmless person is just harmless, right? And so I always felt like, you know, you choose peace, but that doesn't mean you're harmless. And there are some times when those skills need to be deployed. There are some times when those skills need to be used. I mean, you know, when things are violated, when you're being attacked, right? Are you going to be harmless, or are you going to protect your child and wife or yourself, right?
Sure.
So sometimes war is the answer, you know what I mean? And then, you know, I'm also, I mean, I wouldn't specify that I'm a Buddhist, because, you know, the Buddha himself kind of prohibited to, his students to write down his teachings, because he didn't want an ism, he didn't want Buddhism, it's more of a path. But I would say I'm the closest to that, right? I mean, I studied Eastern philosophy, Mesoamerican philosophy, but I would say somewhere I'm in between. So, so that's another thing, like when you kind of trying to subdue yourself, right? Your own mind, you're trying to take control. I have this computer, this supercomputer in my skull, right? And your thoughts are just like a freaking pinball machine. You need to take control of that, right? And that's war, right? To live a mindful life, when no thought just comes out of nowhere, right? Sure. Every thought has a trigger. It came from somewhere. So the train of thought is never really interrupted as long as you're alive, right? And we don't know where, your thought is just, whatever. Or did I close the garage? You know what I mean? It's always all over the place. So this is in both Mesoamerican or Eastern philosophy, this is a goal to subdue your mind. That's what basically let's say the Buddhist monks, the yogis are trying to achieve, that you are full control and always in full awareness of where your mind is going. That's the biggest war, sure, I think a person can wage. And sure, if you remember this album cover, see the hand grenade in the back? Yep. So see how it's a little Buddha thing? Yep. Like it's a Buddha sculpture, right? So I made that. And so it's it's not everything we always do, there's always a second, third, and fourth meaning. It's never just the face value, like, oh yeah, war is it's not that simple. It's always there's always more to this. So so that was kind of the whole idea of pushing that button. I like war it. Is the answer. And there was a little bit of a deeper meaning behind it as well.
At that time, I mean, you guys were starting to get, this was the last record with Matt, right? As on bass. Yes. Is it well known now, the story about why Matt was no longer in the band after a short amount of time then? He was only a record and a half.
We reconciled our differences, so to speak, sure, with Matt. We have a rule in this band that we never really air the laundry, right? I mean, crazy things. You've been around, so you see this band was, when Nicky Six told me, like, hey guys, we did some dumb shit, but man, you guys really need to step on the brakes, right? Sure. You can imagine. So this band, I always kind of try to hit it from the world, that how crazy this was. And so we keep the laundry sort of inside, right, as much as possible. Yeah. Right. So regardless of whoever left the band, I'm never gonna say fired. I'm never gonna say, I'm not, because you just have to figure it out. I'm not gonna say, did he leave? Was he fired? None of your business, right? Sure. Sort of. Not you personally, because you know the story, but for generally, we don't. You're never gonna hear me talking shit about another band. Whoever you are, I will respect your art, and I will respect your right to create that art, whatever it may be. If I don't like it, that's my personal, and the world doesn't need to know that. You know what I mean? Sure. So that's kind of how I look at the world. And when it comes to this, how members and whoever was in and out of the band, it always, it's personal. We obviously, we don't do anything haphazard, so to speak. Everything was thought out. Everything was, we try to resolve situations first before, this comes out. And, I'm just going to keep doing that. So, because it was right there, so I just grabbed it. I'm like, ooh, Pablo, what's up? So anyway, so before, we always try to resolve everything. And so when the differences come to a point where, we are a family, right? We're good with Matt, and at the time we didn't see eye to eye. We have different ideas of things, and so we just simply split, right? So here's the thing: the band, what we do, is always bigger than any of its members, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when you add this up, basically what I'm trying to do is like 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is more than 5, right? Sure. If you're doing that, then you are truly a band, So if any member or anybody in this band ever would think that they're more than, than the band, then they didn't understand what the word band meant, right?
No, I get it. And so, I've been around you all since day one, so I've been kind of seeing you guys grow. I've seen you guys grow.
Well, you were there from day one.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're millions of records. What's that?
Literally, you were there from day one.
So you're millions of record sales away from, this, I don't know. I'm thinking about, millions of record sales now, away from this album, The War is the Answer, and millions of tours and miles, and being on stages. How are you as a musician different now? How would you say you're the same?
Well, I don't think, in some way, regardless of the success, and we got nice things now, you know what I mean? But I'm the same guy, Ivan is the same guy. You stop him on the street, he will stop, talk to you. If you called, he's gonna give you his hoodie. You know him. You know what I mean? Especially Ivan. He's he's not motivated by financial things, right? He's not motivated by money. He's not motivated by things, right? Mm-hmm. So for him, he's always the guy that what's important to him, what's he's doing, who he is at the moment. And even though with his history, obviously, as well documented, even when there was crazy times, there was one thing about him, he was uncorruptible. I can't talk to him like, Ivan, you have to record this song or you will lose, I don't know, $1 million. And Ivan, I don't give a shit. I'm not doing it, right? Mm-hmm. So you can buy him. You cannot corrupt him financially, right? So I always looked at that. That's a pretty good trait. You know what I mean? And for me, I mean, I came from a very poor country, very poor circumstances, right? So to me, I look at it that things manifest. When you're successful, things manifest, materialize financially and otherwise, right? Sure. So I'm always, I like nice things, right? But so we have those that happen, right? But as people, I don't think we changed. We changed as songwriters. We polished our art. We kind of, obviously we have 8 records now. So we figured it out.
Dude, I mean? Absolutely. So do you think from War is the Answer? Do you any from recording sessions or any songs that in particular that were harder to lay down, or any harder to come up with? Was there a challenge for any of those songs off that record?
So that the short history, like this was 2009, right? 2008, 2009 when we were recording that. And the first record. So basically this was our second record. So obviously the first record.
It was like 2 years later.
But how War is the Answer happened, I think it's important to understand the first one, right? So the first record was basically a record where, this was 5 guys, who came together and we all been in situation and bands that kind of went somewhere, but not really, Mm-hmm. And none of us were, 17 years old at this time. So we were grown men, right? Sure. And we all were like, no, you know what? We're going to make this record. I mean, obviously I started the band. The first recruit was Jeremy. But there was this universal feeling like, this is it, man. We're going to kick in the door, or at least we're going to have a record that is done by, the way we wanted it, sure. Right? There are no rules. There is no record label. There is no management. There is no A&R to tell us, right? So, this is kind of fly in the face of internet rumors that, a major label brought in a truckload of money. That never happened. I actually recorded the first album in my bedroom with a coffee mug and my underwear. And
I love it. I got a good visual with that, by the way.
Right. Man, like no shaving. Just let's go. And so the first record was literally done in my bedroom. That record is a gold record today. So you can't say it can't be done, right? Yeah. And you can't say like, well, we have to know the right people. No, we didn't know anybody, right? Mm-hmm. So I started a band. I recorded every riff with the exception of a half a song, right? I co-wrote White Knuckles with Daryl, our first guitarist, right? But every other thing, I wrote everything, all the riffs, right? And then got Jeremy and we figured it out together, the drum parts and all that. So we were just working out. We didn't even have a singer yet. Ivan came in a little bit later. And so there was this all homemade sort of like, we're just going to do it by our rules. So when we did this first record, only the vocals, we went to a studio to record. Mm-hmm. And then we recorded the drums also in the studio, right? And then we took it to Logan Mader, who was a friend of mine, to mix it, right? And that's it. And when we took it to the label and said like, hey, if you guys put it at as is, here is the cover, here is the pictures, here's the record, done. Everything is done, mastered,
pretty
we
rad.
only gonna sign with you guys if you put it at as is. You cannot touch this record. This is what we meant. This is how, this is how we want it. And if you want to change anything, then you're not the label. That's a deal breaker. So that's how the first record happened. So, internet warriors, there was no truckload of money. We didn't even take an advance. We were like, you know what, just give us enough for tour support so we can have a tour bus, so we don't kill each other in a van. That's it. Literally. So we started the first Death Punch tour started with a tour bus, Big Blue. It was a shitty Big Blue bus.
I remember.
Yeah. That was Big Blue, right? And that's how we started, right? And we survived because we had a bus, right? In a van, I think it would have been like day 2, oh man, I have something to say. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep picking it up.
Right.
So basically, this band was pretty much like, this is who we are. This is what we want to do. We're gonna succeed or fail on our own terms.
Right.
And there came, and that record was obviously successful. You were the first guy who played the Bleeding on radio, right? And that song basically kicked the door open. In some way, I think even changed radio, because that was a song and everybody says like, there's no way, it's too heavy. There's no way that screaming and a heavy song like this, can be played on commercial radio in America. And some guy named Pablo says, well, fuck that, we're gonna play this, right? And so you played it, and the guys from Denver played it, because Ivan used to live in Denver, and then it started to blow up and became a top 10 song.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of how this busted open. And then here we are, let's do your second record.
Yeah.
And so the second record, we approached it like, hey, we told the label, we want to do the same way. We're going to do the record ourselves, right? And we set up a studio in my house. I moved that to Las Vegas at this point. We started in Los Angeles. And so, we set up a recording studio and we started to record, and we actually just wanted to have somebody great mix it. That was the whole idea. We recorded, and somebody that we think is a great will mix it. So we found, we basically signed a contract with Randy Staub. Randy Staub mixed the Black Album, right? So we were like, okay, we're gonna record it ourselves, and all the budget gonna go to, to make sure that we can have Randy Staub mix the record, right? So that was kind of the setup. And as we were starting to record this in our house, in my house, basically, the whole band was living in my house at the moment, And as we started to record it, we had some computer problems here and there. We were working with 2-3 workstations in the same time. And and also as we were recording, like, I was using a PC-based system. Jason was on another system with Jeremy on Mac. And we were like, man, this is going to be a clusterfuck. How are we going to give something like this to Randy Staub? You know what I mean? The top, mixer one of the top mixers in the world.
Right.
And we need a studio. We need to actually some organizer record this. And then somebody said like, hey, you know what? Kevin Churko moved that to Las Vegas. And, Kevin, he was doing the Aussie records at the time, and he just moved that to Vegas, set up a studio in his house. And so we went to meet Kevin and basically asked him like, hey, we already have Randy to mix it, but would you help us record this album, right? Mm-hmm. And so basically we started to move to, Kevin. Kevin recorded the drums and everything else, and I recorded my guitars in my house, and I would just mail him, so we could work fast. So I would just literally email him the recorded audio of the guitar tracks, right? And as we were working, we actually realized like, man, it's really easy to work with him. Kevin is also sort of the built-in psychologist, keeps, everything. So none of this has to happen.
Yeah.
So basically, he was almost like right then he became the 6th member of the band. By the time we were done with War is the Answer, we knew that he's the guy that we want to record with forever, like his personality. There was one time in our career that I'm not going to point fingers who, but at one time in our career, an executive at the record on a record label said that we can't use Kevin as a producer because whatever wild hair up his ass. And basically we said like, you know what? that as of right now, he's the keyboard player of the fucking band, and you can't do anything about it. So we're gonna go to the studio with him anyway, and you know, and I'm gonna hog tie the producer, whoever you pick, you know, put him in a corner and Kevin do the record anyway. So let's not even get into this argument, right? But no, I mean, like he's the guy. So so we were done with Warriors Dancer. It went out to Randy to be mixed because we already had a contract. But after that, every record was done with Kevin. You know, everything that every piece of music, everything we ever done, Kevin was part of it. And so this is the appearance of Kevin Churko, the master.
And obviously, to this day, he's still obviously a big member and part of the band. I mean,
I mean, you know, I don't really want to do a record without him.
I love it. Is there
loyalty, man? Loyalty. You know, it's like we grew up together, because Kevin's career just exploded.
True.
And so and ours too. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you always, success always happens in groups. You know, like if you know, it's a kind of a crazy thing. I don't even know that people know this, but when that bunch was put together, I mean, I was recruiting the guys. I was around 9-10 songs in with the first record. So that was, you know, I'm the manual guy. You can tell because the first record is all like, oh, you know. And so when we were, and I was putting together that band first, as I got Jeremy, and then we were looking, and you know, I was talking to Ivan online. He was still in Denver, and we were looking at who we can get, you know. And there was a band called Dead Set that fell apart, right? And it was a local Los Angeles band that they did pretty good, but just never really went anywhere. And Matt Schnell was in that band, and Kyle Zamenek was the singer, you know. And then and as that band fell apart, you know, some of that band became in this moment, right?
Okay.
Yes. Guitarist, and I think the drummer went in this moment, and Matt came to us, right? So, you know, and then I was in this moment was the first to get a record deal on Century Media, so they were starting to happen. Then we got a record deal. You know, in the very beginning we were touring together, so that much took off because we had the radio. And then we would take out in this moment. So all these bands were, you know, Butcher Babies. They were rehearsing next door to us. You know what I mean? I saw them in their very first, you know, when they really just, the name wasn't even Butcher Babies yet. They just tried to, you know, figure out how that's going to work. So yeah, this was one group of people. And all of a sudden, you know, as I said, people succeed in groups usually, right? So this whole thing so this became Butcher Babies in this moment, Five Finger Death Punch, you know. There were a couple of more, but you know, but it's all came out together, you know.
Do you have any, I don't know, resentment, or is it just appreciation for Bad Company becoming as big as it is? I mean, because you look at that record, there's songs on there that are still fantastic. I definitely want to talk about Hard to See in the music video for that.
Right.
But Bad Company, and it's a staple on radio stations across the country.
It is, and tell you the truth, interestingly, so so here's the story of that. You know, this podcast will be pretty much the biopic of this band. So right, so put together the band, you know, got the record, they got it the way we wanted it. They put it at radio, start playing the Bleeding, start blowing up, you know. Basically our day-to-day manager was Jackie Kaiser, who's again loyalty, man. To this day, Jackie.
I know Jackie really, really well.
So right. Yeah. So Jackie was the band, the person who, you know, who came out and saw the band live. Because how it happened, you know, if we had this first record, we put it online, right? A couple of songs. And it was MySpace, man. MySpace.
Yeah, I remember.
What was the last time you heard that word? MySpace, right?
Yeah.
So we put it on MySpace, and if you remember, MySpace used to have musical charts, right? Back in the days. And we were murdering it. So Five Finger Death Punch was an unknown band, no record deal. We had 3 songs online, and it was #1 above, you know, all the major label bands. And so everybody's like, who the fuck is this band? You know, like, what is this, right? And so that's how it kind of started to happen, you know, like, you know, managers, labels started to come to us. And so it was Jackie Kaiser, actually, who came out and saw us, in Hollywood. What was it? The whiskey. We were playing the whiskey. And we were probably the only unsigned band who got paid to play the whiskey, because Hollywood was a pay to pay. And we were like, oh, fuck no.
How did you guys fit on that stage? Because it's like that big.
I know. But see, that was the thing. We got on that stage and we always played like we were playing a stadium, right? And it was obvious that the band, so that's kind of the we went full crazy immediately, yeah, right? And so Jackie saw the band, and then she took it to, at the time, it was Firm. The Firm management started a label, and that was a label. I think we were the only band on that label, actually, right? But basically Jackie was our day-to-day manager, and to this day, she's our day-to-day manager, this 15 years now.
Yeah, it's fantastic, man.
Right. So basically what happened, the record goes out, and she was also doing a radio promotion. So she probably called you 3 times a day, make sure that you're playing the song.
For sure.
You don't want to say no to her, because you know what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so
works her ass off, dude, but she does it the right way too. And
of course.
We had a bond right away. So I was, you and I were always talking. You were sending me music. Ahead of time. I got lucky with some stuff. Right. I remember you texted me one time and asked me if you could say something in a song, or some line from a song, some lyric. You're like, can this be on the radio? Can you say this on the radio? I'm like, yeah, man, you can say it on the radio.
Right. I mean, look, it's a lot of people don't understand this, but there's a mainstream rock radio, that has certain boundaries. There's certain things that just will never get on that format, never gonna get on radio. So so you're never gonna hear Slayer on that format. It's just not gonna happen. It's just what it is, right? Because it's a commercial radio, and so that means millions of people listening to it, and the radio is not publicly funded. It lives off of of advertising, right? And so it's important how many people listen to that. So a major radio station obviously gonna play songs that the people like. And you guys actually have measurements that, when a song is not vibing with the people, it's like, hey, people don't like it, they switch the channel. So really, what people I don't think understand about mainstream radio, that it is by the people. These choices are, you know what I mean? I think this is a behind the door secret that nobody talks about it, but who is played on a major radio stations is kind of voted by the people, because you guys have a way to know that somebody switched the channel, right? So if a band is not vibing, or people don't like a song, because it's just not trending with people. It's not happening, and so radio will switch. So it is really it's probably one of the most democratic process, right? People say, I don't like this song, and then you're not gonna play it, because then you lose your audience to a different channel. So this is not like, again, it's not like a major label shows up with a truckload of money in your backyard and unloads shovels it in your backyard. This is actually, a choice by the people.
So, I remember before you guys released War is the Answer, though. I think you came in town. It was some Best Buy thing or whatever. And we went there, me, you, Jackie, obviously the whole band. We were all there, and you guys did Bad Company. You covered it there at the store. And it was one of the first times I'd ever heard it. So, from you guys, obviously. So what was the story then with that company?
Right, that was your question. So I just took a long road home, right? I took the scenic route to explain what happened. So basically, because of that song exploded, right? We became a headlining band by the end of that cycle. So basically, here's this new band with 45, 50 minutes of total music, one record, right? And we are the headliner. So, and you have to play at least an hour, but hour 20, right? As a headliner. And so we simply didn't have enough music, I mean, Ivan can talk, but not 20 minutes comedy between, you know what I mean? So you can't really stretch it. So if you play every song that's on that record, we're still short. And so what happened, we were like, okay, we're gonna have to play some covers, or, and covers, because obviously you're playing the songs that are on your record. We don't like to play new compositions, really, because people don't know it. And then an audience is gonna be just like, what is that, right? So you're better off with covers, because they're familiar, and there's an art to a live show, right? It's like a DJ, you kind of feel your audience, what song goes where. You don't start a rock show with a ballad. It just makes no sense, right? And you don't put it on as a second either, or the third. You kind of put a slower song somewhere number 4 or 5, you know, have the audience a little bit calm down, and then you hit it again. There's an art to that. Sure. So when we didn't have enough music, we were like, okay, we have to play a couple of covers. So play the Fate No More song, and we played Bad Company. And so Bad Company was never a plan. We were never planning to record this as a song on, as a cover on the record. Mm-hmm. And it was literally the audience. Like, people just like this. So you like this song. So everybody, actually, yes, we too. Are you guys going to record that? Are you guys going to record that? So when you see that 1,000 times, you're in the studio doing the second album, and you see that on the bulletin boards, and everybody, your friends, peers, and fans are asking, hey, are you guys going to record Bad Company? We're like, oh, okay. I didn't want to do a cover, right? And so I was actually, I'll admit, I was against it. I was like, I don't want to do. I'm not here. That's not why I'm a musician. I don't want to do covers, right?
Right.
And we were like, you know what? Let's just do it, and let's see how it works out. And so we recorded the song, and when Ivan recorded the vocals, that was the moment we were like, holy shit.
Sure.
At that moment, we knew that, oh my God, this is gonna be something, right?
Yeah.
And it is probably still one of the biggest songs. Our biggest song is Wrong Side of Heaven.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is an original, and the second one is Bad Company.
Was Hard to See? Wasn't that like in between, The Way of the Fist and War Is the Answer? Wasn't that a song that was kind of on the tail end of that cycle? I thought it was kind of like that. Like, you guys put that out to radio real fast. I remember that.
Check it out. So this album started with Dying Breed, which is like a face peeler. I always had the idea like, hey man, you got to kick in the door, right? And so that was like one of those.
Oh, and dude, by the way, just real quick, not to cut you off, but dude, we're going to play every song on the record. We're playing every song. We're not going to skip a damn thing. And it's playing A to Z. So for maybe the first time, some of these songs have been played, on radio. So it's cool.
What's funny about this? That Bad Company, well, maybe it's on the LP. It looks like it's the last song on this record.
Oh, and by the way, I think it isn't that where this is it from?
Oh my God, yes, my old BC Rich.
I got your.
Yes, that was my BC. So okay, on the second record, right? By the second record, that's my signature BC Rich guitar.
Yeah.
So they had a BC Rich has a guitar called PX3, and I love that guitar. You know what? I'm gonna actually show you something. Check it out. I'm gonna disappear for about 1 second from the screen. Watch this go. This is gonna be fun. Check this out, Pablo.
So we gotta tell a story of like where that guitar came from. The one I just showed everybody. I think, didn't you play it? It's either you played it in the Hard to See music video.
Story time. So that guitar, I'm gonna show you this in a second. Okay. So yes, that was my signature guitar, BC Rich. They had a guitar called PX3. I really, really liked it. I was a long time BC Rich fan. When I was a kid, right? I was a huge fan of the band Wasp, right? I wasn't into the Hollywood, kind of rock music. I was more of a trash metal fan, and and hardcore. I came from British punk music. I was listening to UK subs, Cockney Rejects, Exploited, GBH, that kind of stuff, right?
Super cool.
And then Iron Maiden came around, and Iron Maiden had Paul Di'Anno, who was a punk kid, right? And Paul Di'Anno sounded like a punk singer, but they had guitarists and like they could play. I'm like, whoa, that's how I kind of switched to heavy metal through Iron Maiden, being a perceived punk band first, right?
Right.
And then the Pandora's box opened to the Judas Priest to everything else, right? And I wasn't into the hair metal stuff. I maybe Motley Crue I listened to, but all the rest I'm like, this is not my thing. You know what I mean? We were hard living Europe. You were like the Creator, Possessed, and you know what I mean?
Love it.
Sacred Reich, and we were listening Infernal Majesty, and we were Annihilator, and you know what I mean? We were listening to Destruction was one of my favorite bands. So this German thrash metal and some of the Bay Area stuff, right? But I did like Wasp. I loved Blackie Lawless's voice, right? And they were wearing makeup and whatnot, but it was more like we are scary kind of, not that.
Right. And all that shit. And all
right.
That.
Up until the third record. The third record, I was shocked. Electric Circus.
Yeah.
And I went to the record store, I picked it up. Like, what the fuck happened? I can't buy this. What is this shit, right? I was really shocked because I was a huge Wasp fan. Anyway, so I was just a kid. Wasp was a big band already, right? And I loved the songwriting. I loved Blackie's voice, and I loved the guitars. That was the first time I saw a BC Rich Warlock. I'm like, man, look at this thing, right? And so, and I wanted that guitar, right? So I didn't have an electric guitar. In Hungary, people at the time made $100, $150 a month. So for me to get a nice guitar, it was not,
Right.
And so, okay, I find a secondhand guitar that was kind of broken. I took the neck and my parents' coffee table, true story, jigsaw, and I cut out a kind of like a BC Rich Warlock shaped guitar.
You did this, really?
Trying to copy Randy Piper's guitar from Wasp, right?
Sure.
And I put it together. It was complete dog shit. I mean, it was barely playable, but it was meta. It was like, ooh, here we go. And I'm like, fuck, I was 12 or something, right? And so that guitar that was on stage, Randy Piper's guitar, is this guitar.
Wow.
This is the guitar. This is the guitar and this is his guitar.
So cool.
This is the original BC Rich from 1982.
That's
I think 1984, I'm sorry. 1984, right?
And you got it
and
all.
I found it and bought it because this was the guitar. I never thought I'm gonna have a BC Rich guitar. So it was just, that I had the shape though. And so this is it. This was his guitar in the music videos. This is Randy Piper's guitar, original pickup as is, beat up, like the buckle, scratches in the back. So I own it now. Because this is the guitar that started me. Like, I need to be a guitarist, man.
Well, that's it. That's so cool, man. I love that story. That's the kind of stuff that inspires, all bunch of kids out there that want to get going. You know what I mean? So
and and to this day, I mean, I love Wasp. That was just one band I always liked. And so I got the guitar. And so now fast forward here, I'm in America, right? And first record is out being successful. And I went to the BC Rich. There was a BC Rich outlet, like a representative, an office in California, in Burbank. And so I went there and with Daryl, who played in Wasp before he played in Five Finger Death Punch. So Daryl was our second guitarist who was in Wasp, for fuck's sake. I saw him in Wasp. So we stole him from Wasp. Again, right?
Right.
And so he was our guitarist, right? And he was playing BC Rich because if you're Wasp, you play BC Rich, right? So now we're going to the BC Rich representation. I'm like a kid in a candy store, you know what I mean? Like, holy shit, BC Rich, right? And so there was this PX3 guitar on the wall. And I picked it up. I'm like, dude, this guitar was made for me. I loved how comfortable it was. And then I started to talk to the BC Rich rep, who's, by the way, today he's our guitar tech for a couple of years now. That same guy. Oh man, it's like this whole thing is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
So he's our guitar tech, and and so he hooked me up with the PX3, and I was playing that guitar for a while, and then I met Bill Xavier, who was at the time dear friend of mine. I talked to him every 3 days to this day, right? So Bill Xavier was the CEO or sort of vice president at the time of BC Rich Guitars. We hit it off. We became very close friends. I mean, we go to vacations together, friends, right?
Yeah.
And so I was telling him, I like this PX3, but I would like to do a couple of modifications. And he's like, usually we only make, signature guitars for big band, but I think that your band, this fucking thing will explode. This is during first record, right? This is like only a couple of you were saying this, there were a couple of people, the guys from Denver, there were a couple of people like, man, this fucking thing gonna go. John Reese of the organizer of Mayhem Festival would be somebody who's a big supporter, right? He said, like, I'm gonna put you guys on main stage because this is the fucking man, right? Sure. So there were a couple of, and BC Rich Vice President Bill Xavier was one of the guys who says, man, I'm going to make you a signature guitar the way you want it because I think this band will be a monster. And so that guitar that you have is basically that guitar. So we thin that the neck a little bit, right? And then let's show me the backside of it, the backside of the neck. Yeah, so this is this is the fully painted one. So you have one of the early versions, because after this, I had the back of the neck made sateen. So it's a faster, less sticky.
Like one.
Yeah, I think it's a prototype. Yeah, that's you have probably the prototype. Yeah, because that, yeah, that's why. Because holy shit, yeah, I give you the prototype.
Yeah,
so
you did.
You have the first 5. There was 5 of these.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have probably the first one.
And I just remember you saying that you played it in the music video and stuff like that too. So
Mm-hmm.
off the record, I can't remember if it was hard to see or.
Yeah, because the production versions had the sateen back that's kind of faster. So I developed that guitar with Bill, and it became one of the highest selling guitars. It's just a fucking amazing guitar, right? So yeah. So that's how the BC Rich story went, right?
Man, I could ask you a million more questions. You and we've talked a lot over the years, and our conversations are always long and fun. I always learn a ton about you.
That was a Scenic Rad, by the way. Still, your answer is Scenic Rad. You went to BC, you went to all the way, but Bad Company.
Yeah.
Original question. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that we recorded. Obviously, it's a staple. We cannot not play it. If you don't play that song live, people start throwing shit on stage, right?
Sure.
So it's one of those songs.
Do you have another favorite off the record, that like an actual, like you personal favorite?
Of this record?
Yep. Off Wars.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we used to play Dying Breed.
Yeah.
Right? That was one of the songs that we also one of the songs that from this record was Burn It Down.
Oh yeah.
So Burn It Down was not an official single, but that was the first song we put out. Because we were like, let's just put out something heavy instead, instead of a radio or a possible radio single. And we put that song, and that's still in a set. We still play that song. And Burn It Down was a song that changed, I would say, our perception live.
Sure.
So again, another little side story. So we would play Burn It Down, and we knew that every time we play this song, the audience went absolutely crazy. And now, if you ever seen our audience, this is like, you look at the mosh pit, and these are fucking Marines, and you know what I mean, and Army Rangers, you know what I mean? Like, these are not little, So one of our mosh pit is a meat grinder, especially in the beginning of doing the first 2 record. We had all this, military guys are coming because, various songs and the things that we would say and the way how we talk about things, and that mutual respect, I guess, developed here. And so our mosh pits were freaking vicious, man. And Burn It Down would be the song when I think we set the records of the biggest crowd surfing ever in Columbus, Ohio. When we would play that song, I mean, literally, there was probably 9,000 people surfing, right?
Cool.
So after that, Danny Wimmer and his production company, that time it was a different name, but they would, Amazon, I'm getting packages. Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Can you hear? So yeah. Dude, Jeff Bezos getting rich off of me, man.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, and I'm Amazon crackhead. I should, I'm holding some Amazon stock, So
sure.
it's kind of
absolutely.
All right. So it comes back in some way.
Yeah.
So Burn It Down would be the song where we were like, man, the mosh pit is so crazy that all these production companies, that all the promoters would have to hire double, triple security. So we would show up, and I remember we were playing a show in Kansas where it was so crazy that, one of the promoters, Joe Litwag, came to us and he's like, dude, I think there's like $1 million of damage to the park. I mean, your fans are out of fucking control. I mean, it was crazy, right? And you're like, oh, dude. And then a couple of months later, we played, the big festival in Columbus, Rock in the Range.
Yeah. And
he was there, and Danny was there, right? And that was their show. And I walk out on stage, and I see Joe kind of laughing. I'm like, what are you laughing at? And I look at, and dude, from one side to the other, the entire front row is just yellow jacket security. He was like,
wow.
Mm-hmm. And ever since, like everywhere we went, we were asked like, hey, when you guys play that song, so this would be in our contract.
Sure.
Like when you play that song, you can't say that surf up here, shake my hand, because there's not enough security to that, because I even used to do that.
Sure.
Download Festival was shut down the first time. The second time in the 70s, I think it used to be Monsters of Rock.
Yes.
Iggy Pop shut it down once. we were the second band that in history that they had to unplug, they had to shut down. Cops came on stage and they said, okay, you have two choices: really bad British jail food,
sure,
or you help us disperse the crowd. And I'm like, fuck, man, British food sucks as is. Sorry, love British people. My guitarist is English.
I love it.
Man, the food. You guys need chefs. You guys need to import some Mexicans. They can cook, man.
Yeah,
you know
right.
What I mean? Like, Jesus.
Dude, there's a million things I want to ask you, dude, to get caught up on.
Keep going.
But there's so much, obviously I want to ask you about COVID life for you. I want to ask you what's next for the band. I want to ask, when do you think you'll get back on the road? And I want to ask about chasing
you, brother, for you, I always have the time, man.
And I know, man. But some of this stuff, we're definitely want to keep it about war as the answer. Otherwise my boss will be like, what the hell, man? That's what we're doing.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like one of the last times you guys did like a music, almost just like a musical interlude on the record, isn't it? That canto, isn't that on this record?
Yeah, canto 34, right. Short story, we had a song and Ivan was Ivan's idea. I'm still not sure if he was just didn't want to sing anymore. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or like he was like, I'm done with this fucking record, or he really meant it. But it was like, hey guys, maybe you guys should make this song into an instrumental. So like last minute, like, okay, so that was original song. We just started play, leads over that, right? But there's another one, Agony of Regret. There's a little piece that that's on another record. That's sort of like a little instrumental interlude, and obviously on the latest record, F8, we have that instrumental intro, which is kind of like we thought this is something to sort of show the future,
Sure.
Because we started to bring in some orchestration, some, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So that is something that we are kind of, experimenting with and interested in bringing more of into the music.
I'd asked you in the past too about like taking, do you see the band taking time off, 5 years, 8 years, like some bands out there have done, Metallica's and whatnot, and you told me then why do that?
Right. I love what I'm doing. Right. It's like, dude, that's the secret of life. If you do what you love doing, I love everyone. I can speak for all of us. This is what we wanted to do our whole lives. And now it's here. This is another time to step off the gas pedal. Sure. You know what I mean? So yeah, we didn't want to take a time off. And this situation right now, this COVID thing, is the first time in 15 years that I actually home. Now I know where the light switches are in my house. Before I had no idea. Right? I mean, we are the band. 200 days in a row, brother. So this is, I discovered that I have a massive pool. It's heatable. It's, cool. You know what I mean? I can sit in it guilt-free.
By the way, didn't it just snow in Las Vegas?
It did yesterday, right? So, but I have a pool heated up to like 100 degrees. So it's like it's like a jacuzzi, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, if I sit in my pool, right, I would be like, man, I gotta work. I have to do something. It's 10 minutes and I'm already like, I have to accomplish something. So this COVID was the first moment when I'm, sitting in a pool and I'm thinking, there's another band out there working harder than us. Okay. That can't happen. Right? That can't. We have to outwork that, because this, I would say, we probably one of the hardest working bands in the world. Right? And the first time I'm like, there's no other band really that can work right now or tour, or you know what I mean? Sure. So this gave me a moment of, again, learn where the light switches are, and certain things. And also I'm back to, I'm always training my martial arts. As I said, I'm a lifelong martial artist. Yeah. Started judo when I was a tiny kid, and so that's been a decades, right? And then the jiu-jitsu I'm doing 13 years, something around there, right? And so in this time I picked up training even harder, and I'm probably, if this COVID thing is keep going, then I'm gonna just go and compete again. Really? I love competing. Yeah. Martial arts, I always loved competing. Sure. So I used to compete in Jiu-Jitsu World Championships and this and that. Got some hardware, got some silver and bronze. I mean, so I want to go and do it. So I'm probably two months away from my black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. Wow. I have a judo black belt forever, and probably 2 months away from a jiu-jitsu black belt. And once that's on, then it's, because that's the thing. in that category, when you compete, everybody's a black belt. You can go ape shit. You can go full force.
Right.
You know how to defend yourself. I don't have to hold back. I don't have to, you know what I mean? So probably I'm going to start back and going to the competitions and do that. And Andy James is here, our new guitarist.
Yeah.
So we're jamming around and writing music. And so,
sure.
So that's another thing that if we can't tour, we just make another record, maybe even a double one. Why not?
Yeah, man. Okay, cool. Right. That's cool. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I appreciate your time as always, man.
Absolutely.
I'll let you run and enjoy the rest of your day. Go get your packages from Amazon.
Right, Amazon. Right.
Stacking up.
It was, if I pick the camera out there, you would be laughing. It's probably a stack of shit. You know how that goes? Like, oh, I think I need that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think I need another combat knife for whatever reason. It's not like I'm going to combat, but I have 100 of them because,
So you really knew I was going to say, Zoltan, I want that plaque. Is that coming to my house, huh?
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I put it there. I'm like, man, I'm going to piss off Pablo. I'm going to sit right in front of things. He's going to go like, motherfucker.
It's so cool, dude. It's so fucking cool.
I mean, how incredible that is, how incredible that is. We are the people's band, though. You know what I mean? Like, this is, when it comes to success, I don't think a lot of people understand, musicians, I think, have a skewed idea of what music is, right? Because, I'm really respectable, right? Really respective. Is that a word even, respective? Or just made it up?
Sure
Fuck it. Shakespeare made that voice. Shakespeare made up words, man. A guy named Zoltan can make up words, all right? So, all right.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
So, I respect guys like fucking, Yngwie Malmsteen and all those guys, the Vinnie Moores of the world, the Andy James, you know what I mean? And there are so many of these instrumentalists that, I'm a fan of. And when I started to learn guitar, I was after that stuff. I can shred, but then there was a moment where the idea of music and what it is sort of changed in my mind. And I started to understand, like, well, when you're playing those million note per second things, it's kind of like you're gonna impress all the other guitarists. You're speaking, you're showing your ability, and you are, you're kind of in a class where other guitarists and other musicians going to look at it and go, holy shit. And I'm one of those guys going to go like, God damn, So I'm a huge fan of that. But then where music came from, this was a tribal thing, man. It's a tribal experience where, the tribe was going to go out and hunt. And then they were drumming and making noise and ooh, and amp themselves up to go and do it. Or when they came back from the hunting or celebration of any kind, you know what I mean? Literally sticks and stones, right?
Sure.
So that's where it came from. It's a tribal experience for the people, for your tribe, and the feeling what this is about is to get everyone into that groove, get everyone into that feeling, right?
Right.
So to me, this is a modern, version of that. Right.
Well, dude, you guys should be proud. You put in the work, man. No one handed this shit to you. You know what I'm saying?
But see, the thing is, like, when you get all that means that you spoke the language of the people.
I agree.
Right? It doesn't mean that, this misconception, like, oh, there was a record label, again, a truckload of money. No, is it a truckload of money, which actually never happened. We still to this day, we are on an independent label, still to this fucking day. Like up until our Ross record, we were the only band on the label that had 4 employees. So get that out of your mind. There is no major label thing, but all that means is that you have spoken the people's language, right? And you share an experience. You understood and they understood. So you become, you become a tribe. Because if I, let's say, I'm going to make an abstract example. If you like olives, right?
Yeah.
There are, there are going to be the people who are going to go like, oh, fuck, I hate olives. And then they go online, I hate olives and fuck all the olive farmers. It's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? And there are millions of people who like olives, and who the fuck are you to take away the joy of eating olives, right? So that, I never understood that, right? So it's really that people like your music. If I come and say, hey, Pablo, I'm going to give you $1 million and please like olives. You're not going to like olives. You can you know, you can't, and you're in the radio, so you know this, you can't promote and shovel money into a band or any piece of art that's not gonna, people not gonna like it because you keep playing it. In fact, if they don't like it and you keep playing it, you're just gonna piss them the fuck off, right? If you don't like a song and it keeps coming, it's like, God damn, right? So when a band gets successful, that's what it means. You spoke the language. You know, the whole idea here is that you can create music that you reach people, right? Either lyrically, you know, by the stories, or emotionally, you put them in a certain mood they want to be. This can become the soundtrack to their lives. You will remember where you were when you heard a specific song. Absolutely. Right? So it's a time capsule. So that's what it's really about. And I think it's much harder to create a song that will take, you know, that will be a song and still matter 20 years from now. It's much more difficult to do than I can write you a song with, you know, 4 different time signatures and shredding all over it. But, you know, but did it touch you? You know what I mean? Did it mean something to you? So while I highly respect musicians who can do that, I think the point of music is really that reach people to, it's something to share. That's, you know, and the more people listen to it, then, you know, that means that you're being successful. That's the reward. But, you know, you're being successful because it's being shared. People talk about, that's how this happens. You know what I mean? It's and so what I'm really proud of, I tell you that, is our fan base. You know?
Oh my God, the fan base is insane. You guys got a great
fan fucking base. Real. You know what I mean? These guys are real. They're there for us. We are there for them. And wherever we go, they come out in the thousands and the thousands. You know what I mean? And they're hardcore. That's that connection. You know. And you know, we run our social media. We talk to them. We don't. You know, it's just not. You know, we're not some band on a pedestal. You know, that we're too good to school school, right? It's not. You know.
You should, just so you know, in case you were wondering, dude, I do have the wall space for this thing right in front of you. So just so you know.
It's right there. Oh man, I knew. I'm gonna. I was telling to Jackie, I'm like, watch this. I'm gonna sit in front of this, and Pablo gonna go, hey, what the hell, man?
Right. Of course, she'd be like, yeah, we're not sending him that. Do you know how much that costs to make, Zoltan?
I can also send you some new guitars, man. I got couple of new signature guitars.
I love
it. It's time. Probably have a spot.
Let's go. I got some space.
And of course, it's BC Rich. I mean, it has to be BC Rich, you know?
F&A. I'll bother you about that in the future. All right, dude. Thanks for your time so much. And I can't wait to bust this out. War is the answer. 5-finger death punch and my dude Zoltan.
Yeah, man. Sometimes, you know, war is the answer. There was a time, man. It's like, you know, when I tried everything else, brother.
Yeah, that's it. All right, man. Have a good rest of your day, my friend.
All right, man.
All right, dude. Later.
Good to see you.
Talk to you soon.